Sorry.
All righty. So welcome everybody. I'm going to turn it over to either Eibhlin or Becky, whichever one of you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to start tonight with a little short video from a movie that is classic for all people that love Otterhounds. And if you haven't seen it, you can actually go to YouTube and watch Tarka the Otter. And it's not, well, when I first watched it, I thought, oh, this is kind of like the Wonderful World of Disney. If any of you are anywhere near my age, you would remember that Walt Disney had these wonderful movies about animals, and they were anthropomorphic, meaning that the story is told by the animal. And this is kind of a story about Tarka, who is an otter, and he they're telling the story from the perspective of Tarka. It's not the kind of happy ending that most Disney movies turn out to be. You know how Disney movies are, there's always a happy ending and everything is wonderful. But this is not the case necessarily with Tarka the Otter, but it is kind of an interesting movie showing you a little bit about what actual otter hunting looks like. So we're going to start out right here with this little clip. Oh. Ah.
I think we lost Becky.
Here we are. Can you see this?
Yeah, the video was not was in slow motion with no sound.
What's that? The video?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that.
yeah.
Let's try this again. I don't know why this is not showing you about the otters.
We first saw just the smaller bit of it, and then it looked like when you expanded your screen, it just went to the background. There.
What are you
Oh,
seeing now?
that's the video.
Okay,
This is-
so I want to change that actually.
There.
There.
Now we see it.
Now you're not seeing it, right?
Yeah, so just go ahead and see if you can start it from just the full, the
Can you see it now?
perfect. That's perfect. Yep. Always see
Okay,
it.
great.
That's perfect.
Okay, great. Okay, so I wanted to tell you a little bit about, Otterhounds were meant to hunt otters. And all of you who take a walk with your dog, I know you all get questions from people and they say, what kind of dog do you have? And you say Otterhound. And they say, well, what's an Otterhound? And you say, well, they used to hunt otter. And so when people think about otters, what do they think of? They think of cute, furry animals that live near water, that like to play on a slip and slide, and they float around on their backs and they hold little shells in their paws. But, in reality, imagine if you lived in the 12th century and the church said you have to eat a lot of fish, and not only on Fridays. So now imagine you kept your pond or the area near you stocked with fish so you could conveniently catch them for dinner. Now imagine a marauding otter or two that came along and quickly ate up your supply. Would you think they were cute? No, you would be ready to exterminate them. Call your local sheriff. Otters have a lifespan of about 8 to 9 years. They're 26 to 42 inches long. They can remain underwater for nearly 4 minutes, and they can swim at speeds of up to 11 kilometers per hour. Otters eat from 15 to 25% of their body weight each day, and they weigh from 11 to 31 pounds. So a 20-pound otter could eat as much as 5 pounds of fish every day. After you can see this, they can eat a lot. So here is a place that otters live, and often they don't build their own dens. They usually take over after another otter or another animal, like a beaver or a fox, has lived there before. They don't build their own nests. So now we're going to go to the hunt for the perfect Otterhound.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Eibhlin.
Okay, well, obviously we haven't found the perfect Otterhound yet. We haven't bred them. We haven't seen them. We're still hunting. So tonight we'd like to show you what the perfect Otterhound would look like if it existed in reality, which it doesn't. So this is one of the huntsmen from with his pack in England. And we invite you to come along. Becky started the history in the Middle Ages. People depended on fish, and the river otters could decimate a fish population in an area. So the aristocrats created a dog that would be comfortable enough hunting on land and in water so that it would kill the otters, which are killing the fish. And we have early descriptions that it's a rough sort of dog between a hound and a terrier. We don't know exactly what the early Otterhounds looked like because nobody at that time had cell phones. So we just have to depend on pictures and descriptions. Okay. But it's a very old breed. And we say that basically the Otterhound as we know it today probably was established in the 18th century or the 19th century in the 1800s. And here again are some paintings where we see on the right dogs that hunt. And on the left, we still see a variety of coat colors, and we have dogs at rest. We know that Otterhounds worked in a pack, and we know that it had several ancestors. Here is a picture of the Southern Hound, which is now extinct. And the Southern Hound is behind every scent hound. So it's behind the Bloodhound, the Otterhound, the Nivernais, the Vendée. All of those are descended from the Southern Hound. Okay, and you can see at the bottom a picture of a pack from the mid 19th century. Okay, and the interesting thing that we're going to talk about is that the Otterhound, unlike some breeds, has really not changed since the 19th century. And that dogs that I knew when I came into the breed, or dogs that really pictures we have of over 100 years ago, look very much like our dogs today. So here are pictures from 1898, and you know, they look very like what we're apt to see on Facebook, especially when it rains. And as you could see, hunting with packs reached its zenith in right before World War I. And there were a number of packs. Many of them were mixed packs. So they had some purebred Otterhounds, and then they had a variety of mixed breeds. Only a few packs were 100% purebred Otterhounds. And the most famous in England were the Kendal and District, which is the pack that was hunting in Tarka, and the Dumfriesshire, which was based in Scotland. And today there's the PCOH, which is a purebred pack of hounds with Richard Griffith, the master, and they're in Wales. Okay, so they hunt now wild mink. Ancestors. Here we have a variety of dogs that probably went into the creation of the Otterhound just based on looks. You can see the Nivernais and the Vendée, or the Vendéen, however they pronounce that, are very similar in coat and size, although not as large as Otterhounds. Then you see a picture on the bottom left of a Welsh foxhound that looks like a tri-Otterhound. And then the bottom is the Dumfriesshire pack of foxhounds. And the Bell Irvings, who had the Dumfriesshire Otterhounds and foxhounds, obviously preferred black and tans because even their foxhounds are black and tan. Interesting, bloodhounds are behind our dogs. And the Tarka, the shot that you see of Tarka, you saw the one dog who is called Dreadnought. In the movie, he's actually Boatman, and he's a Kendal and District dog, and he is half bloodhound and half Otterhound. So the packs bred these dogs and bred bloodhounds into them as far or more as recently as 1960s. In America, we know that they were first shown in the US in 1907, and Russell van der Linden has done a lot of research on the Wardell pack that lived near him. And in The Voice, you saw they were at Westminster and at local shows. The first really serious breeding program began in the 30s with Dr. Mowat in New York. And the first champion is depicted there. That would be Mowat's Bessie's Courageous. And you can see he looks like our Otterhounds. The Otterhound Club was formed in 1960 and had its first show in 1980, the first national. The first Best in Show dog was awarded in Best in Show in 1969. And there we have a variety of registrations over a period of 40 years. And you see that registrations in America are pretty consistent. We may have bumper crops, as we did about a year or two ago, where we had over 70 born. And then we'll go into a dry spell, but usually 30 to 50 Otterhounds is an average of the year, and it's been that way for a long time and continues. Here's some more packs. Otterhound hunting was done in packs. And it was banned in 1978 in England. And then 4 years later, it was banned in Scotland. And at the top left, you can see Richard Griffiths with his PCOH pack. That picture was taken at the Hound Show, which they no longer do, but they used to do a Hound Show in England where they would judge pack hounds. And at the end of the judging, they release all the packs in this huge field and they all mingle and they don't fight. So that's kind of an interesting situation. The middle pack is a mixed pack. It's called the Itney mink hunt. I actually went on a hunt with the Itney mink hounds. And so there they are with their huntsmen. And then on the left, you see the De Queb pack in the Netherlands, which used to hunt muskrat, which is a relative of otters. So you can see that Otterhounds were bred to hang out together and work together. And now we're going to look at the Otterhound breed standard. And as it says, anything that departs from this should be considered a fault. And you will find that we have very few penalized faults. And as we go through, you'll see that we have a lot of preferences, but we have inherited a working pack dog. And the most important thing for years and years was how well that dog could hunt. So beauty was secondary. However, all of the standard is based on those qualities that the huntsman thought went into a good pack dog. In other words, those qualities that made them able to hunt on land and water. And here, when you first see an Otterhound, I think your first impression is it's a big dog, a strong dog. He covers a lot of ground standing there. And we call him large, not giant. He's strong of body. He strides and covers ground like he owns it. And what I always compare an Otterhound to is, I used to say he's the marathon runner, not the sprinter, but I was thinking, and I'm from the north, so I think he's more of a cross-country skier rather than a downhill racer. He'll go for hours. The hunt could take 6 hours. They can cover miles and miles. They're not the fastest dog in the world because they have to scent and smell on the way, but they don't give up and they have the strength and endurance to keep going.
So now, Eibhlin, we have a question for our audience.
Mm-hmm. Oh, our quiz. You didn't know we were going to give you a test, did you?
So let's see. Just a minute. I'm gonna set up Robin. Let me show them a slide to help them a little bit with the answer. Can you take that down for a second? Okay. So here we are, we're thinking about these dogs. You can put your slide back up, Robin, and explain what the audience is supposed to do. So there's one.
Sorry, I thought I was unmuted and I wasn't. I apologize.
Okay, go ahead.
On this first question, it's a multiple choice. You can pick between 1, 2, 3, or 4, and we'll give as many minutes as we need, and then we'll show the results. If you can't see it for some reason, the question is your first impression of an Otterhound is A, elegant dog built for speed, B, a medium dog with a broad chest and head, C, a large dog with strength and endurance, or finally, a tall, very heavy dog with a wide back skull. So far we have 7 responses, 8 responses. So we have a couple more of you, 9 of you. Okay, so I will go ahead and share the results. And we had 100% saying the Otterhound impression is a large dog with strength and endurance.
Oh, great. I wish you were my students. Yeah, and that is what a dog is. He's large and strong and doesn't give up.
Okay, so we're going back to the hunt for the perfect Otterhound, and there we are.
As we've said before, and as you saw briefly in the Tarka film, otters are both at home at land and in the water. So an Otterhound has to be at home hunting in both. He has to be able to scent the wash in the water and the drag on land. And so humans created a dog with those particular qualities that could deal with going in and out of water, shaking themselves dry, and hunting on land. So they have a rough double coat. They have webbed feet to make them able to swim and to clamber up rocky banks. And we tell judges that you should not penalize a dog shown in working condition. That would be a dog that would be stripped out, have a very short coat because it's out working all day. And here they are in the water. This is Carinato's film of the Dumfriesshire pack in action. And you can see the rockiness of the shoreline. You can see that the dogs go in and out of a pretty strongly rushing river, so they have to be strong. And then they go right up onto the land.
You could also see that there were a couple of border terriers in there working with them, and terriers would often be a part of the pack.
Yeah, once the otter went into the holt, the hounds couldn't get them, so they'd send terriers in to force it out so the hunt could continue. Okay, let's talk about exact or approximate size, and everything in size is approximate. Dogs should be approximately 27 inches at the withers, which is the top of the shoulder blades, not the top of the head. Bitches are approximately 24 inches. A very large male will weigh about 115 pounds, and bitches weigh 80 to 85 usually. You would have to be, I'm going to say something here about weight. I had a very, very large male who was 30 inches to the withers, basically wolfhound size, and he weighed 115 to 117 pounds his whole life. Most male Otterhounds probably run about 100 to 108, but a very, very large, heavy boned one will weigh 115 pounds. No Otterhound should weigh 130 or more. Bitches about 80, but again, you will have smaller girls, but you probably won't get a bitch much over 90. Okay. Size is approximate. What our standard stresses that proportion is more important than exact size. What we want is a dog that is proportioned, and we'll talk about those proportions, and balanced. And if it's a little taller or a little smaller, that is not disqualification. Proportions. Otterhounds in our standard are slightly rectangular. And I know in England, they say approximately square. So you'll see a bit of variety. Some will be a little longer back than others. But basically we say, if you measure a dog from the point of the shoulder to the base of the tail, it'll be a little longer than from that point down to the ground. Okay, what you're looking for in an Otterhound is a dog that's standing freely, has good bone, and just covers a lot of ground. When he moves, he should cover ground. And when you see an Otterhound, he should look balanced. He should look powerful and noble. Even though they are silly, they should look noble occasionally. The head is a large head. It's fairly narrow and yes, well covered with hair. We always talk about the muzzle being about approximately the same size as the back skull. So we tell judges, if you put your hands along the muzzle, they should be about even or parallel. They shouldn't go like this. That's much more of like a burner head or a lab head. But an Otterhound head is pretty much, the muzzle should be strong, the back skull should be about the same width, not wide. The jaws are very strong, and you want a good muzzle. The best way I've heard anybody describe a muzzle is looking at the side, it's like a brick. You don't want a weak fore muzzle. You don't want a snipey muzzle. You do want a really strong muzzle, because that's the part that had to grip a 30-pound otter. And if you have a weak little mouth, you're not going to be able to hang on to a dog or an otter dog. They actually call male otters dogs. That's trying to drown you. So you have to have a strong jaw and a large head. We usually say in a full-grown male, the head is about 11 to 12 inches from nose to the occiput, or the tip of the skull. And yeah, sometimes they don't look so pretty because their beards are wet and they might look a little thinner. And when you see the dogs in the water, you can see that too. Okay, another couple of features of the head is that one big difference between the Otterhound and, say, a Bloodhound is there's a very slight dome in the skull of an Otterhound. You don't have, whereas Bloodhounds have much more of a dome skull. The planes of the head are parallel, so that when you see the side, and we'll see that in the next slide, from the side, you saw it in the last one, the back skull and the muzzle should be pretty well parallel. You have a large, dark nose with wide nostrils, and we say completely pigmented. And the expression is amiable. We talk about them as being amiable and boisterous, and their expression is open and amiable. Their eyes are deep set. Their ears have a definite fold, and they are long and strong and full of hair. And again, when you look at the head of both the female and the male, you see strength. Okay. Nice big noses, strong jaws. These dogs have the qualities that could work and catch an otter. This might help you to see what I mean by parallel. If you look at the line from the nose to the eyes, and you look at, it's hard to see in any Otterhound because of all the hair, which is never meticulously lying down. It's always sticking up. But you can see that you don't want a dog whose muzzle dips low. And so you want to parallel to the top of the skull. The muzzle and skull are approximately the same length, approximately. And again, that's something you can usually see. If you have a very short muzzled dog, that's not correct, because remember, the muzzle is what gets the otter in the end. Big hounds will have a bigger head. Smaller hounds will have a smaller head, but the proportions should always be the same. The stop is not pronounced, and the stop is the part between the muzzle at the eyes. It's not pronounced the way, many breeds are. And we say that a scissors bite is preferred. We do not penalize off bites. We prefer scissors bites. When I first got into Otterhounds, bites were terrible. And I remember one judge looking at my first show dog's bite and said, "Oh my God, he's got a decent bite." So says something about it. But our standard calls for a scissors bite as a preference. If your dog has an even bite, it is not a fault that will disqualify you.
Eibhlin, can you explain what a scissors bite actually means?
Yes, a scissors bite is when the teeth line up on the side and the front top teeth go meet the bottom. So what you have is kind of this look. So the top teeth are right at the front of the bottom, and the bottom teeth are right up against them. An even bite would be where the two of them are right on top of one another. And a reverse scissors or an undershot bite would be when the bottom teeth are in front of the top teeth. And this is what, you'll see dogs that are overshot. That means there's a gap between their top teeth and their bottom. And you will see dogs that are undershot, which may have a gap. A reverse scissors is this. Okay. And that's the scissors. Does that help?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
I'm just using my fingers. So, okay. One of the problems for any of us is when we see a dog and it's covered with hair, it's hard oftentimes to see where the dog is and where the hair is. And this is a picture of the same dog at 9 months, 2 years, and 5 years. And you can see that it's much easier to judge the shape of the head at 9 months because there's less hair. And you can see the top skull and you can see the muzzle very clearly. It's still fairly clear at 2 years. And then the dog got older and got hairier, just like, human beings. And so he didn't shave. And so now all of a sudden you're going, where's the stop? Where's the muzzle? How much of that is beard and how much is flu or actual side of the muzzle? And this is where we tell judges you have to touch the dog. You can't judge a dog with a double rough coat just by eyesight alone. You've got to feel what's under there. And there you can see how different a dog can seem in 4 short years. There's an eye. The eyes are deeply set. The haw shows only slightly. By haw, we mean like if you see bloodhounds, they often have a lot of haw. Their lower eyelid droops, and you can see, the red. You don't see that much in Otterhounds. It's very rare. The color will complement the dog's coat color. So in a black and tan dog, you want a dark brown eye, you want black eye rims, or we call them mascara lines. You have a black nose. If you have a liver dog or a liver puppy, you will have a hazel or greenish eye. You will have a liver or brown rim, and you will have a liver nose, a brown nose. So you can see at the top, you have a black and tan. The bottom, you can't see the eye color so much, but you can see the eye rim color. A liver dog does not carry black. So you will not see black on a liver dog. You will see it on a Wheaten, you will see it on a black and tan, and you will see it on a Tri, but you will not see black on a liver. And there are our ears. Our ears are essential. And I think a lot of people think the longer the ear, the better the ear. What is crucial in Otterhounds is the drape or fold of the ear. And you can see that much more clearly in the puppy ear. You can see how you have a kind of a bell-shaped ear, and then the front part of it folds back on itself. And that is a key to an Otterhound. That's the desirable ear. It's still there on the mature bitch, but you can't see it as well, once again, because of the hair. The ears are set at or below eye level, and you can see in the puppy, it's right at the ear level. In the mature bitch, it's a little below the eye level, and that's okay. They hang close to the head, and they are so long that the leather, or that's the actual skin part of the ear, when stretched along the muzzle, should come to the tip of the nose. Okay. And one of the things they don't say here, but I think is very crucial, is you need a heavy leather ear. Hair is hair, but again, a thin ear can be torn in heavy brambles and brush, or it also can be torn when it's trying to subdue an otter. So the thicker the ear leather, the better. It's not just hair. And the problem with the testing the length of the ear is, again, you kind of have to do it to see where the leather is, because some dogs can carry 2 inches of fringe and make their ears look super long, but the leather may not be that long. It may be short. So there we are, and beautiful drape on that puppy's ear. That's a beautiful ear.
So let's see, we have a new question.
Oh, good. Oh, here you get to play judge.
Yeah, so we need to look at the picture first, Robin.
Sorry. On my side, it only looks like it's on the side. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so we have 4 Otterhounds here, and we actually were asking for you to rank the heads 1 through 4, but for the question in terms of how this works for our seminar, we're just going to ask you to choose the best Otterhound head right here after you've heard what Eibhlin has had to say. So look at these 4 Otterhounds, and then Robin, you can show your question now. So here you're going to choose head number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4.
Looks like they like 2.
Okay, we still have a few people that haven't voted yet, so make your pick. and then we'll show the results. Everybody done? Tick, 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 tick. All righty. So we had 80% pick head number 2 and 20% pick head number 3.
Okay.
Okay. Uh-oh. Well, let me say a few words. First of all,
Shall I go back to the slide with the
yeah,
head?
let's go back and we'll go through them.
Okay.
Nobody liked 1 and 4, and I'm assuming part of it is you can see that their ear is very short. Okay. And if you look at number 1, it doesn't seem to have any fold in it at all. Okay. And number 4 seems to be a wrestler neck. The head looks small on the neck. Okay. 2 is a nice head. I would suggest that the ear looks pretty short there. It's very difficult to say. 3 is also at a funny angle, but you can see a beautiful ear set and a nice nose there. If you pick 2, remember that you are judging a whole Otterhound. You are not judging a head. I think a lot of people say, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. No, we think 3 is maybe a stronger head, but remember, the dog has to move, it has to have a body, and now you can know what it's like for a judge. I love the way this dog moves, but the other one has a better head. Which one do I pick? You see what I mean? Now, welcome to the world of confirmation. Okay, so if you have any questions or you want to dispute that, we can talk about it later if you want at the end. I think they're all cute myself. Neck and top line. This is just a very nice Otterhound. You can see it's got a strong neck, but unlike number 4 that seemed to be all neck and no head, this one, it just looks right. It looks like that nice big head has a good strong neck base and that it flows right into the shoulders. It has a very level top line. And you can see strength in that dog. You can see that it doesn't have an extreme tuck up like a whippet or a Saluki. I almost said Borzoi, but you can't see where their body is because they're all hair. But you can see that this one has a bit of a tuck up and it has a very long rib cage. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But look at the size of the dog. Good, strong legs. This dog looks like it could take on an otter and it could do it for hours.
So Eileen, what does a tuck up mean?
A tuck up is if you look between the front legs and the back legs, you can see that right before the back legs, the body goes up. It's like the end of the rib cage. Okay. And in sprinting speed dogs, and I used whippets and Salukis, they have a big tuck up. They're very thin and they're very racy. They would wear bikini Speedos. Otterhounds wear kind of trunks because they don't have that waist, I guess you could call it, right before their back legs. Yes, it does tuck up a little bit, but they have a very short loin too. And the loin is the part between the rib cage and the back legs. So in proportion, you are much longer in the ribs because you need a lot of, you need to suck air because you're going to be going up and down banks. You are going to be going for hours. And I think all of us know that it's one thing to walk for a mile on a sidewalk. It's another thing to walk up and down hills for the same duration. It's much more wearing and you pant a lot more. So let's talk a little bit about the neck. One of the fun things is they always say they have to have a long neck because they have to reach the ground to sniff. And I remember somebody said to me once that what they didn't like about, this is my search dog who is a champion tracker, is they thought his neck was too short. And I said, oh, you mean he can't hunt or he can't follow a trail? You know, like it's long enough. And that's what we say by the neck can often appear shorter because it's covered with hair. And it's just, you know, when you look at the young dog and the mature dog looks like it has less neck, it has more hair. And you can see the top dog can reach the ground just fine. I have not ever seen an Otterhound that had too short a neck that it couldn't scent. So, but again, you need to feel an Otterhound. Otterhounds are a touchy-feely breed. You can't just eyeball them from a distance. You know, they're not labs. They're not anything like that. You have to go up and touch them and you'll see the neck. All of these dogs have adequate necks. And there's a nice deep-bodied dog. When we talk about the deep chest, you can see in the front, that dog's chest reaches its elbows, and that's pretty clearly part of the standard. And that applies to an adult, fully grown dog. Those of you who have puppies at home and you go, oh my God, what did they sell me? The chest drops with age. And just like, you know, I have a young male, he's all legs. He's like a teenage boy. He's legs and elbows. And eventually his chest will drop, he will fill out. But right now he's working on height. And so when you look at this dog, you also see that he's got a deep chest. You will see that he's got a good forechest, and the forechest is the part of the body that's in front of the front legs. Okay, can you see where it's white? But you see that that dog is not what we call slab-sided or slab-fronted. It's got a front, and you can see it. It, you know, sticks out in front of the front legs. Okay. You can see again the long rib cage that goes basically, this dog is, it's a nice slide because the color where the color stops, that's where the rib cage stops basically. So it is a short loin. And see again, oh, the tuck up is slight. Some people said they're more sausagey than tucked up with a waist. But there is a slight tuck up. It's a pretty picture, isn't it? You can see the level top line. You can see how the neck flows right into the top line, but the head looks balanced. So, and then we get to the tail. The tail should come right off the top of the top line. Okay, it shouldn't be down on the croup. In the past, that was a change in the standard a number of years ago because we were getting tail set a little lower on the croup. So it comes right off the top of the top line. It's thicker at the base. We don't want wimpy tails. We want a tail that you can grip and put your hand around at the base. It does taper to the end, and it is carried saber fashion. When it's moving, when it's relaxed, you can see the bottom left, it's down. Okay. What you don't want is a tuck tail suggesting fear. And yes, we do have what we call, what a friend of mine calls optimistic tails, Gait tails. They do corkscrew up. Sometimes that's just, you see that a lot in puppies because they get so excited. Their tail just seems to crank around. Plus, A lot of puppies have very long tails, and until their legs grow taller, their tails sometimes, kind of drive the dog because they're so long. But we have actually four beautiful tails here. And the length of the tail should reach the top of the hocks. And the hock is that bend, if you see where the feet are, and then it goes straight up and then it bends into the leg. So that's the hock. So when you pull the tail down, it should reach the hocks. And if you see the dog with a relaxed tail on the left, you can see more of that tail will reach the hocks. Okay. And in heavy cover, they say that that's how you can see the dog's tails. Now, I have trouble in this video seeing the dog's tail. And I remember years ago, I was out in heavy cover with a friend, and I had a tricolored Otterhound and a black Otterhound. And we couldn't see the tail of the black Otterhound against the green at all. We could see the white tail. But basically, the tail is both a rudder in the water and a flag when it's on land. So that's how you can see it. It helps to swim and balance too. So a strong tail is important. Forequarters, the shoulders clean and powerful. We don't want any dirty shoulders. I laugh because I say, what's a clean shoulder? I think what clean means is you can see the shoulder. You can see where the shoulder is. We talk about moderate angulation, and one of the ways to look at front angulation, here's my tip that I got from Bev Krisha, if you're listening. If you look at the ears on this hound and you draw a line straight to the ground, you will notice that the legs are behind it. A straight fronted dog, oftentimes the ears will be very close to those front legs. That means the dog doesn't have any forechest and it doesn't have any angulation. I can't draw this I want to draw with my hands, but basically you can see that if you go from the elbow toward the nose, you will have almost a right angle if you go up to the withers, and that's a moderate angulation. So this dog has nice front angulation. A cheater way is look where the tip of his ears are. It's way in front of his feet. He's got angulation. Okay. Upright shoulders are straight shoulders, lack of angulation, shorter upper arm. That's been a problem in the breed for a number of years. So fronts are something we've really lost a lot of forechest and a lot of strong fronts. So when you're looking at dogs, that is something you might want to consider, especially if you're thinking of breeding, to look at that. This dog was famous for bone and forechest. Forequarters. Okay, here you can see nice sense of balance in proportion. Look at the forechest on these dogs. Look, and the angulation, you can see where their ears are, you can see where their feet are. Look at the what am I trying to say? The girth of those legs. They're thick. But notice the last one looks much thicker because it has more hair. It's again mature. The younger dog, the younger bitch, have a lot less hair, but they've got good bone too. So what you're looking for is, putting your arm around those bones, and you will see that you want a strong boned dog. You don't want the feet to go left, east and west when it's coming at you. You don't want it to toe in or toe out. You want the elbows to be straight. And yes, dew claws on the forelegs may be removed. A lot of people remove them. In England, they don't. In Europe, they don't. So it's up to your breeder.
But those dew claws are removed when the dogs are very young puppies within the first few days of their lives. It's not something that people would typically go back and remove their dew claws later.
No, and when you remove them, the puppy cries at that instant, and then the minute it's over, they stop crying. It's like they forgot. It's very easy, you know, on them when they're that young. It's two less nails to trim for those of you who have Otterhounds and love to do nails. Okay, there's a nice picture of the dog, a nice dog from the front. And look at here's another thing about the chest. You should be able to put your hand, I have large hands. I can stick my hand between the two legs of my dog and they don't get crushed or anything. There's width there. Narrow chest, sometimes we used to talk about having the two legs come out of the same hole, that they were so narrow, they were narrow and there was no room between the legs. But you can see, and you can see how straight those are. This dog has a very nice front. Not a lot of hair and nice feet too, I might say. We'll get to the feet later, I'm sure. But see the chest? This dog can hold air when it works. Feet. Feet are big clodhoppers. What can I say? They should not be flat and splayed. They should be tight. And everybody talks about they have web feet. Well, every water dog has web feet, and most dogs have somewhat web feet. Otterhounds have very webbed feet, just like labs, like water dogs. But what I think is even more important than the webbing is the pads. The pads have to be super thick. And when we tell judges, when you go down, don't just feel if it's got webbing. I've never seen an Otterhound that did not have webbed feet. What I have seen is bad feet, little feet, that if you look at a dog and you don't see the feet, it's like the legs just stop. The foot's too small. Okay. Why do you need those big, heavy pads? These dogs had to go up rocky banks. If you had a thin pad, you could tear it. And if there's one thing that is crippling to a dog, it's a ripped pad because it just can't walk on it. And that would eliminate a dog from the hunt for ages. The other thing about the pads is just a tip. I live up north. I work my dogs in cold weather. And when they're walking, when we're doing urban trailing, if they hit salt, and boy, all you have to do is go past a school, a nursing home, or a hospital, and there's piles of salt, and then go into water or snow, most dogs pick up their feet and they go lame because of the pain from the salt. Not Otterhounds. Otterhounds can work right over salt and into snow, and I've never had a dog pull up its paws after going through salt because they're so thick, the pads. So we tell judges, look for those thick, heavy pads. That's what's crucial. And here we'll see feet in action. If you've ever gone swimming on a rocky beach, you'll know why you want thick pads. Just trying to get into the water on rocks is very painful. Moving to the end of the dog, we have moderate angulation in the back as well. And the way to tell angulation is if you look at the leg, you can kind of see that there's a bend in the leg where the knee is. A dog that is very straight, when you stack them, will have no bend. It'll just be straight on a diagonal. You can see the bend in both of these dogs. And the hock is the bone right above the foot where the leg starts to angle. And our Otterhounds should have short hocks. Well let down means short. We don't want a dog that has really long hocks. That's much racier. And what we tell people is to move well, you should be balanced. You should be balanced, have moderate angulation fore and rear. We often laugh sometimes. We say, well, they're very balanced. They're straight both front and rear, but they're still balanced. And sometimes if a dog is straight in the shoulder and angled in the back, it will not move right because it's thrown its balance off. It can't, a narrow shoulder usually doesn't reach as far as it's driving in the back. So that's an issue too.
And sometimes when people take their dogs to a show and they've won a prize and they go to the photographer and the photographer says, set the dog up for a picture, oftentimes people will stretch those back legs out too far and it makes them look like they have more angulation than they actually do. And it's important to remember that it's supposed to be moderate. Everything's moderate in the Otterhound, and to not stretch those legs out so far to make them look incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, think of a dog standing strong, and if you stretch them way back, they're, not standing strong. Good point. Yep. And Otterhounds are much less angulated than a lot of breeds. Sporting breeds tend to be much more angulated than Otterhounds because they have to be a little faster. The reason Otterhounds are not over-angulated or are only moderately angulated is the huntsman thought that the over-angulated dogs tired easily. And again, our dogs are built for endurance and distance, not speed. Okay, and a lot of everything is proportion and balance. If a dog has too short a back and too long a leg, it's not going to move well. If it, because it won't have enough room between its front legs and its back legs to really take a long stride forward. So a lot of proportion is what makes a dog move well. And while we're watching this, I forgot to mention, muscle is very important. One of the things is both the first and second thigh muscles should be very strong. And if you're, you should feel a hard muscle because that dog is running or capable of running. So here, we're talking about the thighs. So here you see a dog from its least pretty angle from the back. You can see the hocks are not tall, they're short, they're let down is what they call them. The legs are straight, they don't toe out or in. I've never seen dew claws on an Otterhound, but when you stand a dog, they're straight, they're parallel, the tail reaches at least to the hock, and the muscles are strong. And that's, again, something you have to feel because this dog has a lot of coat on its rear legs. And that's where you really have to feel the strong upper and lower thigh. Obviously, the dogs swim better than we do. And let's talk about coat. Coat is essential. And we talk about texture and quality is more important than length. But again, you don't want a 6 to 8 inch long coat because it's just, you can't hunt it. And people say, well, if my dog went hunting, it's got 7 inches of long coat, but it would strip out. My answer is your dog would get caught. That kind of coat cannot pull through brambles and tough terrain. So we have an outer coat that's rough and coarse and dense and looks broken. It's not even, it just is crisp, and you can feel texture when you touch it. Underneath is a softer coat that keeps the dog warm, and you will have an outer coat 2 to 4 inches. You will have a softer coat generally on the head and sometimes on the leg. So, but the outer coat is going to be really crisp and harsh. The undercoat is going to be soft. And since it's springtime here, you're going to find that if you comb your dogs, you're going to have a lot of undercoat coming out, and it's that softer stuff. And that's what they shed. They don't shed a lot, but if you don't comb when they're at seasonal changes, that's when they will mat, because the softer coat is not falling out. And that's when you have to comb it out. The outer coat is water resistant. It is slightly oily. So people complain about smells and oily coat, but again, they're water dogs, and the oil helps keep the water out of their coat. If you live in the southern part of the US, you will find that your undercoat may be hard to find, especially in summer, because of course that's the part that keeps them warm. And if the climate is very hot, they will shed that. So we tell judges to look on the thighs and around the shoulders more than, say, on the middle of the back to find the undercoat. And again, it'll vary. Remember, these dogs were from the UK. They do not have 110-degree temperatures in the UK. So they do have a double coat to keep them warm in those cold waters. So there is a hunting pack. This is the pack. That's Miss Rose Whitcomb, who just died not too long ago, with her pack at the hound show. And if you just, for instance, right behind him is the bloodhound pack. The bloodhound pack they hunt on horseback. I think you would be hard pressed to recognize some of those racy bloodhounds. So, but if you look at the Otterhound pack, I think these are the H's, the Hamlet and that crowd. And you can see their coats. You can see the strength of their dogs. And I think you can see that there they are. Look very much like our dogs. And here you see the dog in the water, and watch how it comes out. And when they come out, they usually just shake and get most of the water out, and then they run. If you have a 7-inch coat and it gets wet, it's going to be very tiring to get up that bank, and then you're not going to dry it when you shake, and then you're going to have to run a couple miles. That's going to be very hard on the dog. So that harsh coat is really important. Here is where we talk about penalizing for not following the standard. A soft outer coat is a serious fault. Lack of undercoat is a serious fault. A very long outer coat is a fault. And the one thing we tell judges to penalize is stripping, scissoring, frou-frouing, stylizing, texturizing. You know, we don't want an Otterhound to walk in the ring looking like it just left the beauty parlor chair. Most of them do these days, but you know, generally you should, in England, the dogs look like they just walked off the field, and some of them have. So what you really don't want to do is start creating a dog by styling it, you know. So if your dog doesn't have a quality, you start giving it with you know, a little frou-frouing, a little here and a little there. That we ask judges not to let our dogs get over groomed. Oh, color. This is my favorite. Any color is okay. Okay. We do not discriminate against color in our breed. We talk about color as depending on the hound. And it's funny because if you look at that, the first dog, the second dog might be called a smoke or a slate, but it could be called a black and tan, depending on what color it was. 5 black and tan, 6 black and tan, 8 black and tan. Second one at the bottom is a black and tan. The second to the end is a black and tan. There's all kinds of variety. We have tries there. You can see the tries. We have Wheatons, we have livers. And sometimes in a breed ring, you won't know if a dog is a Wheaton, a liver, or even a black and tan, because they change. No breed changes the way Otterhounds do. I've had very dark dogs turn almost blonde. My Vi was almost blonde. And yet you have dogs remain very black. Liver dogs are born looking like chocolate lab, and they can grow up to be Wheaton. And the difference is, you know, it's a liver because it has a liver nose, and it has hazel or green eyes, and it has a brownish eye rim. And the Wheatons and the black and tans will have a black nose and brown eyes and black eye rims. The Wheatons will have much less black, so you might get very faint eye rims, and the eye rim diminishes as they grow older. You may have a dog that has kind of a what we call a winter nose that gets a little lighter in the middle, especially the Wheatons. But it's still pigmented. It's just that it isn't as dark a pigment, you know. So we want a fully pigmented dog, nose rather, and the color of the nose and the eye rims will coordinate with the color of this coat, and the coats change as they get older. So those are all correct coats in Otterhounds. And liver is a simple recessive, so you can't get a liver dog unless both parents carry liver. Okay, here's your next question.
Which dog has good coat texture and quality? So you have number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, which is all of the above, or 5, which is none of the above. Robin, take it away.
There you go. So there's your selections right there in your multiple choice. So go ahead and pick your favorite answer there. And when you're all done, we'll share the results. So far, only 3 of you have answered. So we need some more answers, guys. Don't be shy. Okay, now we have 4 people that have answered. Any more answers? Now's your chance. Tick, 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 tick. Okay, only 5 of you answered. Here's the results. We have 40% or 2 people picked dog number 1, and 60% or 3 people picked dog number, or picked all 4, or yep, all 4 of these dogs.
Well, you're all right. Number 1 has a correct coat, and so does number 2 and number 3. Yeah, and again, it's much easier to answer that if you can touch the dog. But you know, all of those dogs have a perfectly acceptable coat. Some look much shorter than others, but again, it's the texture that's important. Oh, Gait. Otterhounds, because they have to travel long distances, should move effortlessly. They should have a reach and drive. And what we talk about reach and drive, we mean the front legs should really stretch out and the rear legs should power them. They're the driving force. And when you see these dogs move, they should look effortless. They should just look like they could just keep going, and they have to keep going. And Otterhounds are interesting because when they walk, they don't pick up their feet. And we always talk about them as like a bunch of old men in bedroom slippers. They go, you know, they shuffle. And then all of a sudden they'll move into this really long, loose, easy gait. As we say, they are a movement breed. If you can't travel through land and water and keep it up, you'll never catch the otter. So no matter how pretty a dog is, if it can't move, it can't do its job. So what we want to see is a dog that easily covers ground. And my recommendation is get behind your dog when it's trotting, and you'll know what a long, easy, well-sustained gait is, because you'll run out of steam far before they do. But you can see beautiful top line on that dog. Look at the outline. Tail, carriage, just beautiful. That dog looks like it could go all day. And there we see him. You know, while we're looking at Gait, notice that dog doesn't kick its legs out far. It doesn't prance in front. One of the things about a good gait is there's not a lot of extraneous movement. They don't pounce like some of the shy, you know, the stylish littler breeds do, and they have that wonderful prance or a big flamboyant kick at the back. All of that is very pretty, but it does waste energy. And they really don't waste energy when they move. Single track at slow speeds. I never could understand this until I actually watched my dog trailing and realized that, yeah, she does. When she's trailing, when she's slow, she's single tracks. That doesn't mean they're crossing over. It means that they're quite narrow when they're slow. And again, they shuffle, they don't pick up their feet, but when they do, they bounce in, or they just glide into a smooth gait where they can, it's not fast, it's not showy, but they can do it forever. And We tell people that they should be shown on a loose lead, not strung up, because if you string a dog up, it usually ruins its front movement. And this is a dog that hunts for hours in rough terrain, up and down. When you see an Otterhound, you need to reward the dog that looks that kind of athlete. You don't want to reward a dog, we tell the judges, that's really pretty, but is having trouble getting around the ring more than twice. That's not what you want. So movement is super important. See, it does move pretty close in the rear. Bloodhounds move a lot wider, so that's a very distinct rear action. Temperament, amiable, boisterous, and even-tempered. Otterhounds hunt in packs, and if you ever go on a hunt, you will find that they pull up in a van and they open the doors, and all these dogs are loose together in the van, and it looks like a clown card. They get along, they live together, and that's why, and they hunt with terriers. And they're generally pretty accepting of other dogs and cats and critters, as long as they're part of the pack, because that is a part of their background, their genetics. There they are, getting out of the van and getting out of the van. And so, for those of you who are ever going to go in the ring or anywhere, Otterhound should be presented in natural form on a loose lead, with a nice free gait, easy going. Their coat should be clean but natural. It should be brushed. It shouldn't have snarls in it, but it shouldn't be frou-froued. It should be sound. And as we say, the fact that Otterhounds aren't hunting otters because otters are now endangered is immaterial. They were bred to do a job, and we should keep those qualities that enabled them to do that job. And, you know, Otterhounds can still work. The same qualities that made them great Otterhound hunting dogs make them great trailing dogs. So they still can do the job, and we want to keep them in their natural form with their natural talent. So keep looking. If you find the perfect Otterhound, tell us all and we'll all come. And thank you for coming.
Carmen, do you have any questions that were put in the chat during the presentation?
Not on my end.
Okay, if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. And while you're doing that, I'll just put in an ad for the next OtterTalk. Is a continuation of this presentation. They're going to go a little bit more further in depth and also add some of the information that's on the Otterhound University and a hunting video I know as well. So join us in 2 weeks on Friday night, the 26th at 8 o'clock Eastern time for that one. And the sign up is available on the Groups.io calendar. It was on the email, but if you sign up on Facebook from that link, it is not on that one. So I will repost it on Facebook for just the 26th OtterTalk probably right around the 19th or 20th of the month.
So
Any questions?
I have a question. Becky, do you have the stuffed otter? Do you have it?
Yes, I do.
Can you, for the next one, have that out and then maybe have Wiki nearby so that we can actually see the combination of size to otter with Otterhound? I know when we had it at the judges mentoring, the judges education in Oregon a few years ago, and we had a lot of Otterhounds there with hands-on, and we had 26 judges that were there. But it was really good to see the scale of the otter to the dogs.
Yes, I'd be happy to do that.
Right.
We have to do it early though.
Yes, Wiki wants to go to bed. I have to leave by 8:30. You know, she starts coming around to say it's time for bed. So we'll do that first thing.
Right. Thank you.
Any other questions at all?
Robin, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Any other questions at all? I thank you all for coming. Join us on the next one on the 26th. And we're going to have some more in April. I think we're going to do a confirmation one in April and an obedience and rally one. And we've got a nutrition one coming up. So join us for any and all of those. We love having you. I will be posting this one to YouTube just as soon as I get the video from Zoom. And I will send you all an email with that link, and feel free to share with your friends. All of our OtterTalks are open to the entire community. You don't have to be a club member to enjoy them. They're for anybody that has and loves Otterhound. So feel free to share. And all of our past OtterTalks are also on YouTube. If you want to go back and rewatch one, or if you've heard something about one that you want to check out, it's all on the Otterhound Club of America YouTube channel. So if there's no other questions or anything, I just want to thank you all for coming and say good night.